Yes. Welcome everyone to the High Noon Hemp Show. It is, of course, noon Eastern Time as Beach returns. We are live, always live, noon Eastern Time on Wednesdays. Of course, Facebook, the Temptations Beach Facebook page. Do the YouTube as well, the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel, or at Temptations on Twitter. In the podcast world, you can check us out on Podbean, Google Play, or iHeartRadio. Just search the High Noon Hemp Show. I have submitted us to Apple Podcasts a couple weeks ago, actually, but they have not gotten back to me yet. I don't know if they will. Sometimes they do with that stuff. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they accept you. Sometimes they tell you you're denied. Sometimes they don't even respond. So we will see what happens. But if you're watching Apple Podcasts, come on. We got a good thing going here.
Come on.
Come on, man. Anyway, I am Stoner Jesus. He is, of course, the man himself, Beach, high above the Hemptations in Sharonville, Ohio, at the Hemp Quarters. How are things in the world of Hemptations Beach on this last day of August?
Things are good. Celebrating the last day of August, tomorrow is our 27th anniversary.
Nice.
That's right, folks. 27 years of Hemptations officially. September 1st, 1995, we opened up. We opened up originally in a tiny little back room of a tie-dye shop in what is Mount Lookout in Cincinnati, a little community in Cincinnati here. Within 9 months, we took over the whole space. She moved out, moved to another location. Our landlord went a little bonkers on us for some reason. I guess he didn't really know what he had gotten into, even though he was renting to the tie-dye person before.
Yeah.
So that is when we went up to O'Brienville and found the location in O'Brienville and have been there ever since. And so we have that location. We're in Northside, obviously, Sharonville, and in Dayton. I opened the Dayton store. We actually, I think, the Dayton store the Sharonville store opened on September 1st officially. I believe that was in 2011. Wow, we've been here 11 years. That's just crazy. Just crazy. All the interesting things that we have done in Temptations. We do have the largest selection of hemp on the planet. My goal when we opened was to prove to the world that hemp should have never been taken away from the American farmer. And I am pleased to say that 27 years later, we are actually growing hemp in the United States. Woo! And I will say that actually happened, it was 2013. We started growing in 2014. So it was only 19 years after we opened, actually, logistically, that, is that right? No. Yeah, that would be right. I'm going to do some funny math. Yeah, 19 years we were open when hemp became legal in the United States to be grown again. And right up until 18 years ago, or 18 years after we opened, I couldn't have told you the timeline for the legalization of industrial hemp. And then boom, just like basically out of nowhere, it came about. And the next thing you know, industrial hemp is legal in the United States and our farmers are growing it. We still have got room to go. And that's why we're still doing the High Noon Hemp Show every week. Because there is plenty of room to grow with the industrial hemp crop in the United States and everywhere. And, whether it's the way people look at it or what we're using it for, there's so much more to be done. I do want to remind everyone that the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy, just so you know. So let's get right into it. Let's get to it. The product spotlight this week. The first one is one of my favorite people on the planet. Good old Wilfred. I said favorite dogs on the planet, Wilfred. Jason Gann is one of the coolest humans I know. Personally, I know. He was so far, the only guest that's been on the High Noon Hemp Show, which is kind of sad, actually. I need to getting some more guests on here, I think. But anyway, these are good old. And the one thing I really like about what Jason has done with his company, the Wilfred name, is that it's really clean. They're using hemp paper. They're using really good products all the way around with everything that they do. And so, is my headphone doing the right thing? I forgot to loop it.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
And so, that's the one reason why I really like carrying the Wilford products, if nothing else, is the fact that he's really taking the time to make sure that these are quality, clean cannabis products. So we love you for that. Medterra, the most popular isolate CBD, basically, that we sell. We just got a kind of a fresh batch in. This again with the isolate, that's all you get, CBD. There's no THC, there's no CBN, there's nothing else, none of the other stuff. And some people really like that or really want that. Again, if you have any threat of losing your job for having THC, a lot of those people like to use the isolate, even though you have to really use a huge amount of CBD product to fail a THC test. But with the Medterra, you have no worries at all. Green Spring Technology pens. You often have always, no, I shouldn't say often, but probably out of 100 and something, 80 episodes, 170 of them, you've seen my Green Springs Technology pen. Well, these are the ones we have on the shelf. The light brownish ones are 3D printed, and the dark brownish ones that are also engraved with the Hemptation's name, those are actually injection molded. So you can do either one with hemp composite, one way or another. And so this is just proof of what you can do to how you can make things out of hemp composite that can replace plastic in the world. And the last is we just got a fresh batch of Homestead Dog Treats right out of Kentucky, Kentucky Proud. These are very popular. We give Josie these on occasion. You got the small breed, which is little, and the big breed. And we're seeing, and I'm seeing a lot more articles and things, and even studies saying these about the benefits of CBD with dogs and even cats. As far as stress goes and anxiety. But it's also good. We're seeing, as far as pain relief. A lot of our customers use CBD on their older pets. It doesn't heal anything, but it does, I think, provide a quality of life that is better, so to speak, when it comes to things like that. So again, seeing a lot of benefits from our customers and all over with the use of CBD and pets and certain things, including us. As I've said, 100 times on this show, we use CBD for thunderstorms. It's one of the only things that really can calm down our Doberman, and so that is real, no doubt about it. All right, there's 4 from the store. What about the one from my door? Probably one of my favorite hemp composites, my Hemp Briefcase. Personalized here at the Planet Everywhere manufacturing with the stickers. But again, this is it's kind of a hemp composite, and you can see the fibers that they kept in there too, and whatnot. I haven't tried to drop it or anything. It's silly to test, but again, should be pretty durable. Pretty durable. If they can use it in car doors, you'd think that the briefcase may have be pretty good. That's for sure. And so currently I use that if I go out, if I'm doing a talk or a speech, then I'll take all my wireless mics and everything, and I use it for my kind of my tech stuff. And then, of course, I put it out in front of me so everyone can see it and touch it and feel it and know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about hemp composites. So there you have it. 4 from the store, 1 from my door here on the High Noon Hemp Show.
Indeed. So, of course, brings us to the, again, as of yet, award-winning, soon-to-be award-winning, greatest internet segment in history where fashion and hemp collide. Because every day, or every show rather, I ask Beach a very important question, and he gives me the very important answer when I ask, "What are you wearing, Beach?"
That's right. If you're curious, maybe you need some help with the hemp food clothing area, you might be asking, "What are you wearing, Beach?" Now you're gonna know. That's an officially licensed Nike SB hat on the old lid there. Got a hemp hoodlam T-shirt, and of course, all the hemp hoodlams. One of their main things is they have a secret hidden pocket in their T-shirts, um, which is fun. We love the hemp hoodlam stuff here at Hemptations, that's for sure. The shorts, Datsura. You've seen my backpack and my bags. These are actually like fight training shorts, so to speak. I guess you could train in anything, wouldn't have to necessarily be martial arts. Um, but the company, Datsura, and I'm not positive how to pronounce it, it's Datsura. They make great bags. You can go and get a hemp gi if you are into the martial arts. Hemp as a material is beneficial, and it's one reason why they really wanted to use it to store their gear in, make bags to store their gear in, is because it's antibacterial, antimicrobial, um, you know, and so it's a better thing to store your sweaty gear, clothes in, for the most part, one way or another. Um, and again, I've been carrying one of their backpacks for probably 5 years now, a good long time. Um, I even have their fanny pack. It's called the Joe Rogan fanny pack that I carried all around San Francisco when we were out there. But it was a great bag too. But they just make, again, high quality stuff based on the martial arts world for the most part. So check out Datsura, Datsura. You can go to their.com and see what they currently have available. You might find something you like. Underneath it all, I've got my Hempest briefs. I will say that my shorts don't have any pockets, so I don't have my pen on me this week, which is probably why I did put them in the product spotlights, just so the Green Springs Technology pens can make it on the show. But I've got my Hempest briefs, as well as a pair of Satori no-shows, and then the old sneakers on the feet are the Saucony Jazz. Now, I think the entire Saucony Jazz line, I'm not positive, so check on it first, is vegan. So if you look at Saucony Jazz shoes, I think that that's their vegan line. Obviously using hemp as a material is a great vegan choice. There's no doubt about that. Again, I wear these Jazz quite a bit, and so, whatever glues they're using are still holding up, and everything's holding up well, just to prove that you can make a pair of shoes without using any animal byproducts, one way or another. And I think most of that is either leather in a shoe, it's either leather or glues that tend to have animal byproducts in them. We don't need leather shoes anymore, that's for sure. We probably don't need animal byproduct glue anymore either.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. If you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you know on the High Noon Hemp Show. Thanks everybody for watching, whether you're watching live now or possibly recorded later. We do appreciate it. All right, let's get on to some hemp news. This fun little chart. This little chart that we got here, it is fun. And now the chart, and I don't know why, because this is all about the 2022 hemp sales, but for some reason the chart says 2017. I think that's an error, to be honest with you. Now, 2022 sales of hemp have reached 820 million. almost surpassing last year's sales already. I think we were at 824 million in hemp sales altogether. What I like most about this pie chart is that it's not like 90% CBD. Um, and of course, before we were growing hemp in the United States, we were still selling hemp grain and hemp fiber and all of that stuff. So those markets were already there. The only new market really is the CBD. Um, Now, what I'd like to see compared to sales possibly is a chart of growers, because I think that pie chart would be majority CBD, very little fiber and grain, which is unfortunate because you can see from this pie chart that the sales of fiber and grain are almost as good as CBD. And then you throw on the construction materials on top of that, and the other things. And so, and I hope most of those numbers are true. And I thank the Ministry of Hemp for putting that together, um, because again, it shows that there is a more balanced selling of industrial hemp products, compared to the overwhelming amount of industrial hemp that's being grown for CBD. And again, we're now slowly moving away from it being the majority of CBD as far as farming goes, and more farmers are looking into grain, looking into fiber, for sure. And so, those sales will continue one way or another, in a very positive manner. And I think I think all those numbers are increasing every year, whether it's the food, the fiber, the CBD, construction materials, all of that. So, Everlane. I think I've shown the Everlane T-shirts before. They're doing 60% off for this weekend, for the Labor Day, and that includes the Everyone Relaxed Hemp Tea. So that makes the Everyone Relaxed Hemp Tea at Everlane, Everlane, by Everlane, a reasonably priced T-shirt. I would go buy three, because it's like buying three for the price of one right now, with this sale going on. And so, if you've ever thought to yourself, I need some hemp T-shirts, I want to buy some hemp T-shirts, and then thought maybe they were a little bit too expensive, well, Everlane's going to take care of that this weekend. Go to their website, go find the Everyone Relaxed Hemp Tea on sale, and I do believe they may have some other hemp stuff. I did not get a chance to actually go to their website and check out, but I think it's most of the website, but for sure this particular hemp shirt. An interesting study, and I kind of knew this because I just recently watched this work. But this study showed that CBD is effective in preventing peripheral neuropathy that occurs following chemotherapy treatment. Neuropathy is a huge thing. Mary had an issue with it. It causes numbness and just really weird sensations. And she used CBD for it, and it helped. And so these study results don't surprise me personally. And I think that more people want to know what they can do to prevent neuropathy or treat neuropathy. And so I think there's a lot to look into here, with this, especially, if we can find anything that helps with any of the side effects of chemotherapy. How silly would we be not to look into that? And so, especially something that's all natural. And so, again, the longer CBD is legal, the more studies we're going to find. And this is just another one that shows that CBD does have therapeutic benefits, that we're still figuring out, one way or another.
Yeah.
Um, oh, how fun is this art installation? They call it a pavilion. I don't know if you can actually get inside it, but it's called Alyssa and the 11 Swans. It's a pavilion at the Chart Art Fair going on in Europe right now. And it's based on the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, The Wild Swans. I don't know anything about it. But the hemp, as you can see on the sides, there's 11 of these hemp fabric panels on the side of this. And they all represent the 11 jumpers Elisa has to knit to save her brothers. Spoiler alert, sorry. Um, well, I mean, I don't know if that's a
Boy,
spoiler alert or not, because I don't know. I don't know if she successfully does it or not. So I don't know if I can't tell you the ending of the book or the story fairy tale. Um, but I will say it's an interesting use of hemp. We're seeing a lot of hemp in art installations these days because a lot of art, and again, I think this is meant to be maybe eco-friendly, although they tend to, it looks like they use a lot of wood in there. Hopefully that's eco-friendly wood, um, one way or another. But we're definitely been seeing a lot of hemp pop up on art installations, and especially ones that are dedicated to sustainable use, sustainable products, and whatnot. Which again is enlightening to those people that go and see that. They may have never thought about it
mhm.
before looking at an art installation and saying, "Hey, well, hemp is sustainable, huh?" Um, and so using it as a building material in art or fabric in art, which we're seeing a lot of, it helps to educate people as well as to the utilities of industrial hemp, one way or another. But if you want to be in the FBI, don't tell them you used CBD. That's right. The FBI has officially made a statement saying that prior CBD use will not be tolerated and you will be disqualified from any job. Okay. Now, what's really funny about, well, I don't know if it's funny. There's nothing funny about this. It's just ridiculously stupid that the FBI is so uneducated on CBD that they don't want their people using it. Um, Now, they have laxed their use of marijuana in the job. Now, before the FBI said no prior use ever in your life. If you ever used it ever in your life, you cannot work for the FBI. Okay. Now, just recently, they said 10 years. If you haven't used it in the last 10 years, then you're okay. You're okay.
Yeah.
Um, and again, just I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's a federally illegal substance. Uh, but in the same sense, they know of the millions and millions and millions of humans that use cannabis one way or another. And again, would not affect the job. I'm not saying they can use it on the job, but if they went home to use it, they wouldn't affect how they did their job. um, maybe more or less the FBI, like most government police agencies, maybe they just don't want their employees to use cannabis because it makes them cooler, makes them not as evil. I don't know. Makes them not want to be evil. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you why the FBI cares so much. I assume the same thing is true about cocaine or heroin or any of that. I don't guess you couldn't use any of that in your lifetime and still work for the FBI. But the FBI sure makes a point to tell you to not admit to using cannabis. Do not admit to using cannabis on the application. Just don't do it. And that's I think maybe why they come out with this statement too is like they don't. I don't know if they really care whether you use it or not. They just don't want you to tell them. They don't, because it's so stupid. It's so stupid. If I used cannabis a year ago and then decided to go into the FBI, if I was qualified and hired, who would what difference does it make? What difference does it make? I'm sure I can get plastered on alcohol the night before my interview, and that would be 100% okay.
Mhm.
But well, cannabis use, no FBI for you, which is interesting because you know what? To be a senator or a congressman or any of those things, it's not even legal to drug test.
Yeah.
It's not federally legal to drug test your employees. Oh boy, what a fun world. This is a cool shoe. How about this new Stussy? Stussy's doing a lot with the shoemakers and hemp these days. This is a Stussy and a Converse crossover. They're releasing what's called the Chuck 70 High Surfman, and the material is hemp. And we have seen Converse in the past. There's I need to find out exactly what Converse and which ones were made out of hemp and which ones weren't. But there's always been rumors that they released hemp ones before. Now, if you look at this material, it is different than their normal canvas material that they use on the Chuck Taylors. So now, again, it's all about the weave when it comes to that. But these are pretty cool for a pink pair of shoes, I have to say. I'd wear them, I suppose. And so, keep your eye out there for the Stussy and Converse. It's supposed to be releasing sometime soon in the hemp, with the hemp material. I guess there's a big, huge decortation plant opening in the village of Donley. I don't know where that is, in Canada. It's going to open in 2023. Now, if you don't know, decortating is basically breaking the hemp stalk. The hemp stalk is one of the most strong materials on the planet, like right out of the ground. Okay, it's so strong that in the past, before machinery, they would leave the hemp in the fields, and they would build a shock, just like this one. This is a hemp shock, everyone. And again, they leave that and then in the field over the winter, so that it snows and rains. And what it does is it finally gets that outer, what we call the bast or the herd, the shiv. Um, it softens that up so they can come along. And what they used to do is they would have a machine called a brake, and it was just this big wood machine that had basically wood planks offset, and you'd lay the hemp long ways on it and then pick it up and take it down, pick it up and take it down, and it would break that hemp in the fields. And then they take the fiber and leave that herd, that shiv, to go back into the ground. It's kind of a natural um, fertilizer or so for the next year for the plants, because they didn't really use that for anything at the time. So the decortator basically is a machine that runs those big, long hemp stalks through it and then breaks them like this. So it's kind of puts it into an S, and then as it's going through, it breaks and breaks and breaks. And then at the end of that process, you have the shiv in the herd piled up, and then you have the fiber as well. One of the reasons why cotton kind of beat out hemp in the long run is as we were discovering cotton as a fiber and whatnot, the cotton gin came along, which made it a lot easier to then process the fiber. And the decortator kind of came along same time, a little after maybe. And so all of a sudden it was much easier to mechanically process cotton. And so all of a sudden cotton's grown, everywhere. And hemp is kind of pushed out and then literally made illegal. We can blame the cotton industry as much as we can blame the timber industry, as much as we can blame the oil industry, as much as we can blame synthetic fiber industry. All these things had a part, I believe, in making cannabis illegal, uh, whether it was for marijuana or industrial hemp. And so, that was, and I had been saying this way before it was legal in the United States to grow industrial hemp again, that when we did make it legal to grow again in the United States, then we're going to see a tweak on all this, 19th century, 20th century technology being brought into the 21st century. And, this big plant being built in Canada speaks for that. It's going to be a modern decortator. And what I love about this is really that means that the Canadians now finally are going to start making plans as to what to do with their leftover stalks at the end of their growing season, because the Canadians grow for grain. So most of the grain and the food products in the hemp world come from Canada. Up until recently, they just threw those stalks on a pile and burned them. It was just waste. And then, and I think they used that to probably spread over hopefully use as a fertilizer as well. I don't know. But as a waste product, all those stalks could go, be decortated. There's fiber in them. There's bast, the chip, animal bedding, or hempcrete material, whatever you want to use it for in those. And it's viable material. It should be used for something instead of just wasted. No doubt about that. I mean, to me, right now, the only thing that may be acceptable to waste, and I've been talking about this a lot recently, are the leaves. We don't have a market for the leaves. We don't have a hemp leaf salad market. We don't have a hemp seed livestock leaf feed market, because we can't feed hemp to livestock, but feeding them hemp leaves would be a good idea, one way or another. And so that's the only real byproduct of the plant that we can't send somewhere. But to waste the stalk or the fiber in the stalk is ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous idea. We need to find a home for the billions of hemp leaves that get destroyed every year. Find something viable for those, no doubt about it. But there is zero reason for the stalk to be wasted if you're growing for grain or for flour. Even if you're CBD, that stalk still has fiber. That stalk still has bast. That stalk still has thousands of byproducts that can be made from it. And again, zero reason to waste it. I think one of the best things I heard is there was a CBD farm that was using their stalk waste and whatnot to make plastic or bedding to go down underneath, like a weed barrier for the next year's crops. And I thought that was just genius idea. Using the whole plant is a must, honestly. More and more, no doubt about it. We've been talking a lot about, but I did find a 2017 study that showed CBD lowers blood pressure. And now a new study done just last year showed that CBG also lowers blood pressure. I don't know what the pharmaceutical companies are doing to fight this knowledge, but I have seen, I think that as far as one of the medication crossovers that you do, that I have been telling more and more people, I think, about, is the fact that CBD does lower blood pressure. And we're seeing this all over the place. And we're even seeing where, the rumor is this woman's CBD use caused her blood pressure to go so low that, she had an issue and sent her to the hospital.
Wow.
And so it is definitely something that I think more people should pay attention to, especially if you're on blood pressure medicine. Um, and again, I think the more studies we see in the way, we can really see some numbers what to do. I think that a lot of people on the planet could probably replace their pharmaceuticals with CBD. Instead of taking some lab-made medicine, why not just take a capsule of some nature? Because it's clearly effective enough to reduce blood pressure that it is, becoming one of those things that blood pressure patients, medicines that are taking medicines need to be aware of, I believe. Um, and so it's going to be interesting to see in the next couple years or so, if we don't see a blood pressure recommendation as far as dosage goes or whatnot, the lowering. And I really would like to see some numbers specifically as to how much does it lower blood pressure? How long does it lower your blood pressure? And so those things are going to come about soon enough in the medical world, the therapeutic world, to get some more facts on. But I do think that if there is any, medical concerns right now with medication crossovers, it's definitely blood pressure more than anything. We haven't seen anything else that really affects anything as much as CBD can do that, and then might mess up your medicines or just put your blood pressure way low, too low, which is not a good thing as well. Too high and too low, not good with blood pressure.
Yeah.
So we're going to definitely be seeing more and more blood pressure talk, I think, when it comes to CBD. As much as we know how much it really helps with some other things, that's something that affects, again, millions and millions of Americans are affected by high blood pressure.
Absolutely.
So, again, a natural medicine that would help with that, to me, makes so much more sense one way or another. How about this little hemp home in Pennsylvania? They built it with, so the top picture, I guess throughout the house, is kind of fun how they framed it, but they actually left so that you can see the hemp lime crete material that the walls are made out of. They called it installation. But it's kind of fun how they showed it, exposed it, and then covered it to show you that you just cover it with regular, and no one ever knows that you have hemp walls, for that matter. And again, works great. We're finding, studies are showing, as far as insulation goes, it is a very good insulator, one way or another. And then the bottom picture is kind of cool because this is a hemp table sitting on a hemp floor. And again, this was all about tiny homes. This is a tiny home that was, I don't know if this was a tiny home. It wasn't that small. It wasn't that big either. But this one's being built in Pennsylvania, and again, just built with the idea of showing people what we can do with hemp. We don't have to cut down any trees for the floors. We don't have to dig up any sand for the walls. No trees were harmed in the making of that table, for that matter. And so, I used to say in my speeches that anything that you can make out of wood or you can make synthetically, you can make from hemp. Now that's mostly true. Okay, I'd say we could probably do 80 to 90% of the wood could probably be replaced with a hemp wood, but only 60 to 70% of the actual plastic we're coming up with as far as that goes. But once again, if we could replace 60 to 70% of the plastic and even 70% of the wood products, the forests would breathe so much easier. Um, and again, this is all sustainable. This is grown in 4 or 5 months, 6 months at the most. Um, where a tree takes 10 to 20 years to get any viable material out of it, whether you're going to make paper or a floor out of it. And so, you know, I always said in my speeches too, again, we can stop cutting down trees, stop drilling for oil. So now I can add stop digging for sand, for concrete, and use hemp. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple concept. It can be embraced by all. Um, I like this. The hemp cooperative in Ireland, and apparently Ireland is really starting to embrace the idea of using hemp. They have what's called the 7 pillars of hemp. Basically, the 7 reasons why we should be growing and using hemp. Personal well-being is the first one. Now, I think that's directed at the CBD industry and the extract industry of industrial hemp, as much as anything. Then the next one is the food and beverage. It's correct. If we used hemp in a lot more foods, we would be healthier humans. And again, no herbicides or pesticides are needed. You don't have to worry about any of that when it comes to hemp food or putting hemp in a beverage, which we have seen as well. Carbon sequestration, which is a big one. According to the article, 1 metric ton of hemp reduces carbon by 1.63 tons. Okay, that makes it carbon negative. Carbon negative, which is a huge thing. And one of those reasons, one of that is, it has been proven that industrial hemp sequesters carbon better than trees. They proved that. Okay. And then, when you're done with your hemp product, no matter what it is, it can just go back to nature. And so the carbon footprint, of hemp just keeps getting better and better. Most of the time just describe it as carbon neutral. So whatever it takes, it puts back. It just, it's kind of even. But what we're finding is it is actually carbon negative, which means that it takes more carbon or reduces carbon much better than what it puts back whenever we make whatever we make out of it or do whatever we do when we're done with it. And so, again, yet another reason that industrial hemp should probably be grown everywhere and as much as possible. Clean air. Clean air. Something that should be a right of all humans. Clean air. It is not. It is not. I mean, more and more laws are being passed every day that are securing us of better air, but we still have quite a ways to go. And growing hemp would just be, again, you can say it 1,000 times. We just did it. We'd have clean air. No one would notice. No one would have to take credit. No one would have to say anything. It would just happen. We can go on with our lives in a much better atmosphere. I mean, that's all we need to do, in all honesty. Rural regeneration. And again, this is something, farming was destroyed in the 80s by corporate farming. The move now, and again, this has been the move, maybe the last 10 years, 20 years, maybe, was to take back farming. Make it something that's more cleaner and better, and the corporations do not care about your health or any of those things. All they care about is their bottom line, and that is why when food agriculturally grown food, especially in the United States. The 80s was when it was like, we're going to do anything and everything to maximize the amount of food, the amount of control we have over the farmer, more than anything. The amount of control that they have over the farmer is just insane. Um, and now, there's a movement because of we want natural, we want organic, we want clean, we want responsibility. We don't just want stacks of crap up on the grocery store shelves that doesn't even benefit the human body, um, i.e., corn. If we replace most of the corn with hemp, and I'm not saying we can as far as what we do with it, because corn is sugar. That's what corn syrup is in 40%, or there's corn in 40% of the grocery store's products, from my understanding. We don't even digest corn. Ask any doctor, ask any dietitian, ask anyone that knows about what our gut does, and you will learn that we do not even digest corn. And so, what's the purpose of putting corn in everything? It's cheap, it's a filler, it's a sugar, sweetener, and whatnot, and absolutely unnecessary for the human diet. It's just ridiculous. Eat more hemp, less corn, and even soybean. Soy is something that a lot of vegetarians, vegans look towards for protein. And my understanding is we don't really digest soy that well as well. And so, just because it has the things in it we need doesn't mean we need to have it. And that's like, it's the same argument against dairy milk. It's a proven fact that dairy milk is terrible for the human body. But because it has calcium, and the human body needs calcium, all of a sudden, we got to be drinking this. That's a terrible idea. Again, it's a proven fact that the highest rates of osteoporosis and hip fractures happen in countries that drink dairy milk. Switch to hemp milk, folks. Switch to hemp milk. Do your body good. Don't drink milk. No offense, dairy. I think that cheese on a rare occasion is about the only rationalization that I have for dairy milk. In all honesty, because it is really bad for humans. It's really bad for humans. Animal welfare. I really like this one. Again, it is. It's interesting because it is actually legal or okay to feed livestock hemp in Ireland. And so, I think that's a move that's probably going to happen soon. Now, in the article, basically, we're talking about it is logistically, all these things aren't really happening because there's not enough hemp, and that's the argument of this article is we can use it for all this stuff, but it's not really happening because there isn't enough hemp being grown. And so, you start growing some hemp in Ireland for livestock feed. I think that would be huge to their livestock industry, honestly. And again, it's obviously okay. They can start feeding their chickens hemp leaves right now if they want to. There's nothing that says they can't. And I'm okay with that because I don't think there should be any restrictions here. We just need to prove that there shouldn't be any restrictions, so there aren't any in the United States, which we're doing slowly but surely with studies across the country. Number 6 on the 7 pillars of hemp: sustainable circular bioeconomy. Now, I think what they're really talking about is if the hemp is grown locally, then you have this sustainable economy that will go in a circle, and is also environmentally friendly. The product can be grown there and used locally, to boost any economy. In all honesty, it adds jobs. everywhere that hemp and hemp farming and hemp production, and because now they need, another part of the article was saying that they don't really have any production or manufacturing. They can grow it, but they're in the same place we were, and still kind of are, but not quite as far as we were 6 years ago, 7 years ago when we first started growing hemp. There was zero manufacturing, production, none of that was happening. Processing, none of it was happening here, because that would have been wasted money for anyone to build such a facility. Now it's kind of the race. Right now is the race to build these facilities. Huge one that's been built in Indiana. And they're, these facilities are popping up. The Decatur in Canada, just another facility that is popping up because of the demand for hemp fiber, for the demand for the bast. Those are the two things that you would get for the most part when you run a hemp plant through a Decatur. That's that. And I always said locally too. If we were growing hemp locally and making stuff locally, and again, that we all know that buying local or staying local helps the planet too. If something doesn't have to be shipped from China,
Yeah,
to get to you, then you're saving the planet in multiple ways. That's just the truth of it. I'm not against China. I'm not against anybody. I believe in a free world market. Everybody should make everything, and everybody should buy everything from everybody. Um, you know, um, but I do like the idea of being able to get what I want locally. I don't want it to travel. If I want a local source for mostly everything that I can get if I can get it. Just because it just makes more sense to me to do that. And so I think that's what they mean kind of by the sustainable circular bioeconomy. Um, and now the last one is sustainable construction. I don't know if I can talk about hemp construction any more than I already have on the show, but yeah. I think just like a lot of Europe is totally okay with reusing hemp in construction, and it's an acceptable construction material. And we're definitely seeing, hemp houses and again, all these art installations. I showed the one, maybe a couple months ago, the hempcrete blocks art exhibition, just showing how it can be used and how it is being used. Because these things exist and will exist more and more. The demand is just now starting because the supply is just now starting. This is kind of a weird economics conditions of supply and demand, because it's kind of like chicken or the egg. That it's like we have demand and then we have supply, and we have demand and we have supply. It's all kind of coming and growing together. And supply keeping up with demand is one thing, and then demand keeping up with supply is another, because it kind of goes both ways. When it comes to industrial hemp and all the mini products and all the beneficial things that we can make from industrial hemp. And of course, just like I said, if we don't have production or processing plants, then supply is hindered. If we don't grow it, we don't grow enough, then supply is hindered. Demand is growing. There's demand is going up and up and up for all hemp products. I don't care what it is. And so, that supply chain is kind of where we're going like this. But that's why the fiber and the grain industry, I think, has grown kind of slowly as far as farming and using in the United States. Because, they don't really, the demand is a tough one. We can all say, yeah, we'd like to have a hemp t-shirt, but that doesn't translate to what you see in the market, because there aren't enough hemp t-shirts out there to say, hey, I sold 1 million hemp t-shirts last year. We need 1 million more. It's like if we make 10,000 hemp t-shirts, we'll probably sell 10,000 hemp t-shirts. And so showing demand, that's, why we opened 27 years ago, was to prove there was a demand for these objects and then supply them.
Yeah.
Which is, very true. The environmental benefit demand is not going to go away. There's never going to be, I don't think, less people that want the planet to be clean. I don't know if there'll ever be enough people that want the planet to be clean that will make real differences, but I don't think there will ever be any less people that want the planet clean. And want better products. No one will ever say, I don't want a stronger pair of jeans. I don't want a shirt that's product that's going to make me healthy, give me the nutrients that I need. I just, that's not going to happen. And so, demand is ever rising, and now supply is ever rising at kind of the same time, one way or another. So it's kind of a beautiful thing and kind of frustrating at the same time. But it's the right direction. That's the key that we're looking for when it comes to why we do what we do. What a lot of humans on this planet want the planet to be, which is a better planet, and clean up the mess that we've made. The humans made the mess. We need to clean it up. That's just, I don't care what you say. You can say whatever you want about global warming or the future. I'm talking about the past. It's a proven fact that what we've done in the past has harmed the planet. Okay, it's made the planet worse. It's not made it better. So we need to now change that. The Industrial Revolution was probably the worst thing that ever happened to the planet. One of the best things ever happened to humans. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not a Luddite. I don't believe that those changes didn't benefit humans. But with that benefit came a huge unbenefit. That's a word. To the planet. And I drive a car. I'm not. I don't believe in perfection. There is no perfect. I believe our goals are to be the best that we can be, and that we should do for the planet the best that we can now. And that's up to all of us, because we all live in a world that we take advantage of the Industrial Revolution. And now we have the opportunity, especially through electronics and I really feel like we should be cleaner just because of that kind of stuff. But in the same sense, all that stuff is also polluting the planet. So we need to get the planet back to where it was when you could walk up to. How nice would it be if you just walk up to a stream and take a drink of water out of it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's been hundreds of years, but I think, in all honesty, before that really would be a good idea. But clean air in the cities, no fog or smog, I should say. Smog goes away. These are all things that again, we did it. I will take responsibility for my part in that. Even though I grew up on a self-sustained farm, we reused, and we didn't recycle because there was no such thing. So our recycling was reusing. Just because, but I've driven a car since I was 16. There's these modern technology that I use and we all use. It's great for us, but it's done the planet no benefit whatsoever. So, if we could, again, start just using hemp for everything, we can start straightening up all those issues that have come about because of the Industrial Revolution and our demand and use for petrochemical based products and all the tree wood based products and all these things that 100, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 200, 300, 100 to 200 years ago, we thought there was just an endless amount of. Look how many trees there are in the world. There's no way we'll run out of trees. There's no way we can harm the planet by cutting down trees. Look how many there are. And guess what? Wrong. Look at all this oil free from the ground, man. Look what all we can do with it. We can't possibly be doing any harm. Wrong. And again, I am just as responsible as anyone else. And all I'm looking for, just like most responsible humans should be looking for, is an alternative in the future to make things better for the planet. It's not too much to ask. And for that, I suppose we can thank Oregon State University, because their Global Hemp Innovation Center is the largest comprehensive hemp research center in the U.S. So if you want to go into hemp, you want to major in hemp, you want to find out everything you can about hemp, I would recommend looking into Oregon State University. Get with their Global Hemp Innovation Center. What and they don't say anything, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research. And I am curious as to what they've comprehensively researched and what their conclusions have been. If they are the largest hemp researcher in the U.S., let's find out exactly what it is they're finding out, which is great. This is a university researching these things and getting the facts is awesome, honestly. So thank you, Oregon State University, for your Global Hemp Innovation Center. We'll try to find out what you guys have been doing up there. If I ever decide to go to Oregon, I haven't been to Oregon. I think I'll put that on the list of places I'd like to visit. Here's interesting. We know that hemp is a nitrogen depleter. It needs nitrogen. If there's any type of fertilizer that industrial hemp could use, it would be a nitrogen-based one. Apparently, a farmer doing a little bit of research on different plants that he's planted hemp after in rotation with. Apparently, fava beans are the best plant to plant before you plant hemp. So you throw your fava beans in rotation before you grow your hemp, because they tend to leave the nitrogen. And that's why it is true. You can't do soy and hemp. You can do corn. You can rotate corn with hemp, but you don't do soy with hemp, because soy is also a nitrogen depleter. My correlation there would be that plants that make high concentrates of protein need high concentrates of nitrogen to do so.
Yeah.
And so apparently fava beans, and I don't know about their protein content, but I don't know if that's true or not, but apparently growing the fava beans before the hemp, the farmer said that the hemp fields were more lush. He could tell the difference. And again, hemp is no different than any other agricultural cultivar. It does need a little bit of fertilizer if you can give it to it. It's not completely necessary, I don't think. It just does better. Luckily, I think there's some animal waste fertilizers that are nitrogen based, and so that's kind of a more natural cycle, as opposed to fertilizers that aren't. Obviously, I would love to, and I don't know about fertilizer use, and this is something that once again I need to do a little research on. Find out if the Canadians actually use any fertilizer on their hemp. I find it very hard to believe that the Chinese use any fertilizer on their hemp that they're growing for fiber. I don't know, that you would need to. I don't know that you would really need to grow for the grain. CBD is a whole different game, and so does not really, in my opinion, included in the actual farming of industrial hemp, because it's totally different. It's totally different. If you're growing for grain or fiber, you're growing it totally differently than you're growing it for the flour, so to speak. And so, I don't know how much, if any, nitrogen's actually being used on industrial hemp, or how they're doing that in Canada or China, or even here at this point. So I might do a little research on that soon enough. I know in Kentucky you can't. They just now approved a couple pesticides or things. There was nothing that was actually approved to use on hemp because there was no hemp before to know, and so you couldn't. There was, once again, kind of organic by nature, because you couldn't spray it with anything that was approved anyway. Now, I do believe they have approved a couple things possibly, and I don't know if you really need them, but they did approve them to be used on the plant in Kentucky. And that's probably different from state to state. And
Yep.
so, and depending on, what you're doing, or how you're doing it, one way or another. Lake Decatur in Illinois got a $10 million federal grant to clean it up, and that includes the use of hemp to reduce both the sediment that comes into and the amount of nitrate nitrogen that runs into the lake. And so, I believe the plan is to just grow hemp on the outside of or around the lake, to sequester, the nitrate nitrogen, and to also slow down the sediment, the erosion that obviously happens. Things must erode, and then it just runs into the lake eventually. And again, hemp is a very, very good plant for erosion because of its root system. It's got, a tap root, and then it's got the little roots. And so, it gets down into the ground, which actually helps, keep erosion down. Hillsides that don't have plants growing on them erode a lot faster than hillsides that do. That's just a proven fact. And so, finding better, more better, erosion fighting plants to grow on hillsides and whatnot is also a challenge. Something that's still a challenge to erosion everywhere. So, I think that hemp is going to be great. Would be great at that. One way or another, and obviously the government believes so, or they wouldn't have given them $10 million to find out. So that's going to be, again, something kind of interesting to hopefully be able to keep our eye on, is this government project to clean up Lake Decatur in Illinois with hemp, using hemp. And again, this is going to be, I'd say in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a lot of cleanup projects bringing in hemp. Again, to be honest with you, I think it could possibly be one of the most inexpensive ground cleanup things ever in the history of time. Since we've been polluting the ground, I would say that hemp could prove to be the one thing that could help clean it up pretty inexpensively. And again, the challenge there is to whether we could use that hemp for byproducts, which I really would, love to see. If we take the chemicals out of the ground, where do they go in the plant, and what parts of the plant can we still use? But if it does its job right and it cleans the soil, then I'm okay with that being destroyed. Because it's done its job, that's for sure, and it's taking carbon out, and it's remove the chemicals out of the ground. So phyto remediation is what that's called, when a plant removes the bad things or whatnot from the ground. And hemp is a great phyto remediator, and that's why we're starting to see it pop up more and more in ground cleanup, soil cleanup projects, one way or another. All right, that's all the news. Not too many events going on here. Let's see. If you are in Lovingston, Virginia, the Woodridge Farm Brewery has a hemp maze going on until September 11th. Again, that's in Lovingston, Virginia, at the Woodridge Farm Brewery. Go through the hemp maze. That sounds like a really fun idea. These more and more of these have been popping up in the fall recently too. I'm sure there'll be some more hemp mazes that I will let everybody know about one way or another. September 13th, you have harvesting and managing hemp grain for food. Oh my gosh, I did not put where that was. That's terrible. I think that's in Lexington, Kentucky, actually. No, that's not Lexington. Sorry. I'll have to find out where that is and let you know next week. September 24th, you got Hemp in the Holler down at the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame and Museum. September 24th, Hemp, Hops, and Shrooms, an outdoor event in Carbondale, Illinois. And that's about it for September right now, honestly. That's all we got, folks. No questions. You heard my thoughts. So remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See y'all next week.
Peace.